Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Monday, April the 15th. We are halfway through April, and as we look at what the futures are doing at about 7:30 a.m. on Monday Eastern Time, 2 hours prior to market open, the Dow Jones, S&P 500, and NASDAQ futures are all up. The last two, the S&P and NASDAQ, about half a point and about a third of a point for the Dow Jones. What we've just seen come out are market results, earning results released to the market from Goldman Sachs, and they appear as though they're being viewed as very positive. The stock is up 2.71% pre-market going into the open. We'll see whether that maintains, but it looks like it exceeded expectations. If we scroll down and take a look at the analysis here, sorry, not the analysis, the financials in the Yahoo Finance app, what we'll see is that it looks like over here in the earnings section that the Q4 2023 number came in at $1.97. They don't have the April 15th number showing up there just yet, but I believe it came in positive. If we scroll down and go down to the financial section in our tracker here and select Goldman, I thought I just got an update on that, and it refreshed, but it doesn't seem to have made its way onto the main screen there. Anyway, it looks like based on the chart that it's starting off positive. We also saw just before Goldman announced earlier in the morning, M&T Bank announced, and you can see that pre-market it fell, not significantly, but it fell for sure. And now it looks like it's recovered in terms of the numbers showing there at the top of the screen, but not on the chart. So for whatever reason, this isn't, the chart doesn't seem to be updating as much as the actual numbers are, but we can see that on Friday it closed down at 134.56. Looks like it's going to open now up 1% at 136. It did announce earnings this morning. Looks like it came in with profit slumping and on lower interest income, which is what happened to some of the banks, particularly JP Morgan and Wells Fargo on Friday. And some allocations to the downside for bank loan losses. So just some provisions that they have to set aside and some money they have to pay back to the US government for some of the bank failures as banks, as one of the banks in the banking sector. So there is some pullback, I guess, or some negativity there, but it seems like overall the results are being viewed as positive. If it is in fact up at 136, which it appears to be, we can see with that, well, let's have a look actually if we go back to financials and see what the others are doing. So Goldman's up $12, 11.98. Charles Schwab is set to announce today as well. So it'll be interesting to see when they announce today. Let's just have a look at that. And they are set to announce, I guess, at 8:30 this morning. So it'll be interesting to see what they come out with in terms of results and how that affects things in about an hour's time. It does seem to be having a positive effect overall on the financials. So you can see that JP Morgan is up half a dollar. It obviously took a big hit on Friday after it announced earnings that weren't really that bad, but that certainly caused the market as a whole, I think in conjunction with what's going on over in the Middle East and the potential at the time on Friday for Iranian retaliation against Israel, which we have been reading about has happened over the weekend. And fortunately, most of the 300 drones that are being written about and missiles that were sent towards Israel were blocked by a variety of military defense systems. So we can see it seems to be a positive impact here. And then with that, if we go back up to crude, crude was off significantly earlier this morning, and it is slowly starting to rebound. So I think with maybe diminished risk around the potential for attack, we're seeing a bit of a rebound there and less nervousness. But if we scroll right to the top and just look at the overall indexes, and these are obviously not the futures, but what it closed at on Friday, crude is still down. But if we scroll to the right and here, look at the VIX. The VIX is near its probably 3-month high at this point, or getting very close to its 3-month high. It's been as low as 12 and 13. And this is really the volatility index 30 days out. So there definitely is increased concern around what's going on as we head into the earnings season, Q2 earnings season here. If we look through the retail and healthcare sector, really not a lot going on here. Lulu was off again significantly on Friday, down at 336. So again, possibly a good buying opportunity here. You can see the price earnings is still pretty high at 27.55. And this is not a dividend paying stock, but I think it's probably getting to, if not already in, an oversold position. And if we do see recovery in consumer spending and retail numbers, it definitely seems to be a popular retailer amongst the general population and seemingly growing in market share. If we go down and take a look at our oil stocks, I went through those a few minutes ago, but those are on the rebound and seem to be climbing back up. They all had a fairly negative finish to the day on Friday, so maybe expecting a bit of a rebound there. And then if we get down into financials, sorry, I skipped on tech. So tech seems to be leading the rebound today. So the NASDAQ looks like it's set to open higher, and that will bode well for a lot of these names, which again, like all others on Friday, had a bit of a down day. It certainly finished down in the majority of cases. What are we looking at here in tech today? So I certainly like AMD at 163. I think that's got a lot of potential coming into its earnings this quarter. I think that Workday at 263, another attractive stock in the HR and in the software space around HR. And then we have some Amazon nearing a high for really, I think, the last 2 years up at this area. We're going to hear results from Amazon, I believe it's next week, if we take a look at that, yeah, in 10 days. So we'll see how they're making out on both the cloud front, cloud and data center front, where they're a key player, but also in retail and then their prime digital offerings. Tesla's off today. They just made an announcement that they're laying off, I think it was 10,000 people, a fairly significant number. So looking to implement some cutbacks. Meta looks like it's on a bit of a rebound today. So I'm a big fan of Meta. I think they're going to have some outstanding results this quarter. Netflix reports this week. I believe they report, on, looks like it's on Thursday. So that'll be interesting to watch and see what numbers they come out with in terms of subscribers. I feel that Netflix is kind of at a peak. I've never really been a huge Netflix investor. I miss that historically, and that's one that I think, looking back, certainly would have loved to have gotten in on, because it's one of those companies where I've been using Netflix for a great deal of time and started to think more in my investment philosophy about what products, technologies, platforms, retailers am I consuming from and my peer group? And is that indicative of the greater population as a whole? And if it is, should I be investing in those things? And Netflix is a great example of that. We've been a Tesla family for a number of years. I wouldn't say an early adopter, but early-ish. And that's another one where if I spent the money that we put into the Teslas on the stock, probably be able to buy more houses as opposed to more Teslas. So just things that I think about. So I use Prime a great deal, I think, as do a lot of people. So I'm certainly an investor in Amazon and believe that that has a fairly positive growth trajectory ahead of it. I'm also a huge user of Google as a search engine and multiple times a day. So I'm a big fan and investor in Google as well. And then outside of that, I'm an Adobe user, I'm an NVIDIA user. So, all things that I now at least consider more and take into account. I did really well in the pandemic with EA, and that's really thanks to my son, who was quite a gamer. And during or pre different releases of different games, he would bring that to my attention and point me to different news groups or Discord channels that were talking about and hyping up the game to see whether it was truly going to be as popular as maybe analysts were expecting. And on game announcements or around game launch days, it tends to take off and move. So it hasn't done a lot in the last really 6 months, I don't think, and is still around where it was maybe a year or two ago at the 127 range. So not something I've been active in recently, but it certainly was at the time when people were at home and there was an increase in gaming activity. So lots of things to keep an eye out for this week. I think with financials starting to report, that's an area that I'm going to keep my eye on today and potentially look to take some positions in if we see some of those individual stocks making their way upwards, and then make an exit and take a small percentage profit there. At the same time, I'm going to be keeping my eye on oil today and hoping that we see a recovery in crude as we come into the open, which is just under 2 hours away. And if it does, I think it's going to lift up some of these oil stocks, and we should see a bit of a recovery in those as well. So that's where we are on April 15th. Hope you're liking these videos, and we will talk to you